Listen carefully. Not everyone was meant to hear this. If you are hearing these words right now, it is not by accident. It is alignment. Something activates tonight. Not tomorrow, not someday, tonight. And once it activates, there is no returning to who you used to be. And they thought you would stay small. They expected you to remain quiet. They assumed your patience meant weakness. But patience was never submission. It was preparation. You were not being delayed. You were being forged. Every moment of pressure, every season of isolation, every time you were misunderstood, it was shaping you into something they were never ready to face. And now the weight that was meant to break you has finished building you. And this is not motivation. This is confirmation. The version of you that rises next does not ask for permission. You are not becoming louder. You are becoming unavoidable. There was a time when you tried to fit in, when you softened your truth so others could stay comfortable, when you mirrored their energy just to keep the peace. That version of you is done. You are no longer here to reflect who others want you to be. You are here to expose what they have been hiding from themselves. And the moment you stop mirroring them is the moment their masks begin to crack. Not because you attacked them, not because you confronted them, but because truth does not need permission to exist. Your presence carries it now. Truth unsettles false people. Truth disrupts weak systems. Truth cannot be controlled. And this is why some people will suddenly feel uneasy around you, irritated by you, threatened by you. Without being able to explain why, you did not change your tone, you changed your frequency, and frequency reveals everything. Understand this. The resistance you faced was never random. The betrayals were not accidents. The misunderstandings were not confusion. The sabotage was not coincidence. You were not imagining it. There has always been opposition against you because your existence destabilizes fragile structures. You walk into rooms and energy shifts. You enter spaces and false narratives begin to collapse, not because you try to expose anything, but because your authenticity makes deception uncomfortable. Some people sensed early that you could not be programmed. They felt it before you ever spoke. That is why they tested your boundaries. That is why they tried to humble you. That is why they attempted to rewrite your identity. But they miscalculated one thing. Pressure does not destroy the chosen, it reveals them. And now the phase of testing is ending. What begins next is embodiment. You are stepping into the phase where your life becomes evidence. Evidence that the battle was real. Evidence that the resistance was intentional. Evidence that you were never weak. You were targeted because you carry something that cannot be replicated. Your clarity threatens illusions. Your awareness dismantles manipulation. Your silence carries more authority than their noise ever did. This is why people who relied on confusion will start losing control. This is why those who thrived on your self-doubt will feel exposed. You are no longer feeding the system that drained you. You are reclaiming your attention, your energy, your access. And when access is removed, power collapses. Some will try to provoke you back into old cycles. Some will attempt to guilt you. Some will pretend nothing changed. But you will feel it, the detachment, the clarity, the calm, not emotional numbness, sovereignty. You are breaking cycles without announcing it, ending patterns without fighting them, healing bloodlines without permission. Your growth is traveling backward and forward through time, touching versions of you that never had the chance to speak. And this is why the shift feels heavy, because you are not just becoming something new, you are remembering something ancient. They tried to erase this version of you, to fragment it, to distract you from it. But memory cannot be destroyed, only delayed. And now the memory returns. You will notice it in the way you move, in the way you speak less but say more, in the way chaos no longer has access to you. You are becoming expensive in a world built on cheap energy. Some people will not be able to afford you anymore, not emotionally, not energetically, and not spiritually, including people who share your blood. And that is not cruelty, that is evolution. You are not abandoning anyone, you are choosing truth, and truth always costs something, but what it gives back is freedom. This is only the beginning. What comes next will redefine how they see you. Stay with this message, because in the next part you will understand exactly why your rise was delayed, who tried to stop it, and why nothing can now. There is something you must understand now. Your delay was intentional, not because you were unworthy, not because you were unprepared, but because if you had awakened earlier, you would have outgrown environments that still needed to reveal themselves. You had to see who stayed silent, who benefited from your confusion, who only loved you when you were unsure of yourself. Clarity would have ended those relationships too soon. So the timing was precise. You were allowed to doubt yourself, so others could expose themselves. And now that phase is complete. This is why certain people feel distant lately, why conversations feel hollow, why old dynamics no longer work. You are no longer vibrating at the level where manipulation can survive. The version of you that accepted crumbs no longer exists, and this is where it gets uncomfortable for them, because you are not reacting anymore. You are observing. Silence used to be your defense. Now it is your authority. You are watching patterns repeat without participating in them. And when someone can no longer control your emotions, they lose control over everything. This is why provocation increases before collapse. Expect it. They will test you one last time, and not because they believe they can win, but because they need confirmation that you are truly gone. Gone from the role they assigned you. The peacemaker, the absorber, the one who understood too much and demanded too little. That role is finished. You are no longer negotiating your worth. And notice this shift. You are not angry. You are not bitter. You are not seeking revenge. You are calm, and calm terrifies people who relied on chaos, because calm cannot be baited. Your nervous system is no longer available. For their games, your energy no longer leaks into places that refuse to respect it. This is why guilt tactics will appear, why nostalgia will be weaponized, why they will remind you of who you used to be. But listen closely. They miss your access, not your presence. They miss what they could extract from you, and that is the clearest confirmation that you made the right decision. You are stepping into a phase where your existence becomes the verdict. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to defend your choices. You don't need to prove anything. Your peace speaks for you. Your consistency exposes them. Your life becomes the message. And this is where illusion collapses. Because people who built narratives around you can no longer maintain them. You didn't fail like they expected. You didn't break the way they predicted. You didn't disappear. You evolved. And evolution invalidates every false story ever told about you. Some will try to rewrite history. Others will pretend they supported you all along. But you will feel the truth, because you remember how lonely it was when no one believed in what you were becoming. You remember the nights when you carried yourself alone. That memory is not pain anymore. There is a moment when people realize they can no longer read you. That moment has already begun. You used to be predictable, not because you were simple, but because you were open. You explained yourself. You gave context. You made it easy for others to understand you. That transparency is gone, not because you are hiding, but because you are whole. Wholeness does not seek validation. And now, those who studied your reactions no longer know how to access you. Your pauses confuse them. Your restraint unsettles them. Your peace disarms them. Because peace cannot be manipulated. This is where control collapses. People who relied on emotional leverage will feel powerless around you. Not angry, not rejected, powerless. And powerlessness reveals truth. You will notice subtle shifts, less invitations, shorter conversations, awkward silences. Not because you changed for the worse, but because you no longer fit the version they memorized. They cannot trigger you the way they used to. They cannot provoke old wounds. They cannot pull you back into familiar roles. And without access to your reactions, they have nothing to work with. This is why some will attempt to confuse you again, to blur boundaries, to question your clarity. But confusion no longer lands, because you are not thinking from survival anymore. You are thinking from alignment. and alignment does not second-guess itself. Your nervous system has recalibrated. Chaos feels loud now, drama feels obvious, manipulation feels transparent. You see patterns before they complete themselves, and you exit quietly. No announcement, no explanation, just distance. This is maturity. This is mastery. You are no longer here to be understood by everyone. You are here to be authentic with yourself. And authenticity is expensive, and not everyone can afford it. And this is where separation happens naturally. People who live in performance cannot stay close to someone who lives in truth. Your stillness exposes their restlessness. Your boundaries reveal their entitlement. Your clarity reflects their confusion. And that reflection is unbearable for some, so they project. They will call you distant. They will call you changed. They will say you think you are better, but listen carefully. Distance is not arrogance. It is self-respect. Change is not betrayal, it is growth. And self-respect always offends those who benefited from your lack of it. You are no longer available for emotional labor without reciprocity. You are no longer fixing what you didn't break. You are no longer explaining your worth. This is where your energy becomes selective, your attention becomes sacred. And when attention is reclaimed, false authority dissolves. Some people only had power over you because you listened, because you cared, because you hoped. Hope has matured now. It has become discernment. You no longer invest where there is no return. And that is not selfish, that is intelligent. This is why old cycles cannot restart, even if circumstances try to repeat. You are not the same consciousness that entered them before. You see the pattern, and awareness breaks repetition. This is the moment where timelines split. The version of you that once tolerated less no longer exists, and the future responds accordingly. Opportunities feel cleaner, connections feel lighter, decisions feel quieter. No rush, no pressure, just knowing. This is the signal that you are no longer being tested. You are being trusted. Trusted with clarity, trusted with influence, trusted with yourself. And this is why your presence carries weight now. Not because you dominate rooms, but because you don't need to. People feel you before you speak. And that changes dynamics instantly. You are becoming a living boundary, a line that cannot be crossed. And those who relied on confusion will feel exposed because you are no longer readable. An unreadable truth cannot be controlled. This is not withdrawal. This is ascension. And what comes next is the moment they realize you were never meant to stay accessible. There comes a point when they realize they cannot afford you anymore. Not emotionally, not energetically, not spiritually. You were once accessible, always available, willing to explain, to fix, to stay. That access is gone, not because you became cold, but because you became valuable. Value demands boundaries, and boundaries expose entitlement. Some people were never connected to you. They were connected to your availability. They were connected to your tolerance, to your forgiveness without accountability. When that disappeared, so did their comfort. This is why guilt will be used. They will remind you of history, of sacrifices, of shared blood, of old versions of you. But blood does not justify dysfunction. History does not excuse harm, and love does not require self-abandonment. You are allowed to outgrow environments that refuse to grow with you, even if they are family. This is where the deepest chains break, not with anger, not with rebellion, with choice. You choose peace over chaos, truth over loyalty to pain, healing over inherited survival patterns, and that choice echoes. It travels through your bloodline. It disrupts cycles that thought they were permanent. This is why your evolution feels heavy. You are carrying more than yourself. You are ending stories that began long before you were born, and stories fight back. When they sense their ending, expect resistance from familiar places. Expect misunderstanding from those who benefited from the old version of you, but do not explain. Explanation feeds the past. Silence feeds the future. You are not here to be understood by those committed to misunderstanding you. Your work is internal now. You are integrating. You are becoming congruent. And congruence is powerful. When your words match your actions, when your energy matches your boundaries, when your inner world matches your outer life, control collapses. Because control requires inconsistency, and you are no longer fragmented. This is why manipulation no longer works. They cannot pull you with guilt. They cannot scare you with loss. They cannot hook you with nostalgia. You have already grieved the version of connection that was never real. And once grief is complete, freedom begins. You are no longer fighting for approval. You are honoring alignment. And alignment always rearranges reality. Some doors will close suddenly, without explanation and without drama. Let them. Those doors were connected to versions of you that no longer exist. And some doors will open quietly, not with noise, not with pressure, with resonance. You will recognize them, because you will not have to shrink to enter. This is the sign that you are stepping into your rightful timeline, the one they said could never exist, the one that required you to doubt yourself long enough to develop discernment, the one that could only be entered. Once you stopped seeking permission, you are no longer available for cheap energy, cheap attention, cheap connections, cheap narratives. Your life demands depth now, and depth repels those who live on the surface. This is not isolation, this is refinement. You are becoming rare, and rarity always changes how others relate to you. Some will admire from a distance, some will resent silently, some will attempt to re-enter with new masks, but you will see, because you are no longer looking through hope. You are looking through truth, and truth does not repeat lessons, it integrates them. This is why the next phase will feel quieter, not because nothing is happening, but because everything is aligning. And alignment does not announce itself, it simply arrives. Not with noise, not with revenge, not with explanation, with embodiment. You are becoming the reality they said could never exist. Not because you proved them wrong, but because you stopped needing their belief. You did not just survive what was meant to destroy you. You integrated it, and integration is power. Your life now speaks without you saying a word. Your peace becomes the verdict. Your stability becomes the evidence. Your consistency becomes the collapse of every false story ever written about you. They will watch, some quietly, some in disbelief, some with regret, but none with control. Because control requires access, and access to you is closed, not out of anger, out of clarity. You are no longer performing healing. You are living it. You are no longer explaining your boundaries. You are embodying them. You are no longer waiting to be chosen. You chose yourself, and that single decision altered your timeline. The war they thought you were losing was never about destruction. It was about delay. They needed time to convince you that you were ordinary, but ordinariness never fit you. That's why resistance followed you. That's why pressure surrounded you. That's why silence shaped you. You were being trained to carry truth without needing validation. And now you do. You walk lighter. You move differently. You see clearly. Not because life is easier, but because you are stronger than what once overwhelmed you. This is the version of you that cannot be erased, not rewritten, not controlled, not reduced. You are the living proof that cycles can end, that bloodlines can heal, that destiny can be reclaimed. And if this message found you, it is because you were ready to remember. You are not alone in this shift. There are others awakening quietly, breaking free silently, choosing truth without applause. This channel exists for them, for you. So stay connected, subscribe, return when clarity is needed, come back when the world feels loud, and your inner knowing needs confirmation. This space will continue to speak to those who are no longer asleep, because the chosen ones are not rising loudly, they are rising undeniably. And this was only the beginning.